Throughout history, popes have been called by different titles or terms. So one title that the popes have been called for really since the beginning of the papacy is the title of Pontifex or Pontifex Maximus. And this term Pontifex, from which in English we get pontiff, like the Holy Roman Pontiff, comes actually from the Roman Empire, in which certain religious officials were called a pontifex. Pontifex literally means one who builds bridges. In fact, in some languages, the word bridge, ponte, comes from this, pontifex. So this title for the Pope, Pontifex, kind of explains to us a role that the Pope has of building bridges between people and God, uniting people in God, and also building bridges among people. It isn't just, of course, the Pope who is a bridge builder, a pontifex, but each and every one of us Christians. As Christians, as followers of Jesus, we are called to unite people, to overcome divisions, and to build bridges. This is a very important ministry and mission that we have, especially today. As we're probably aware, today, more and more, people tend to build bridges to separate different groups of people or individuals. There can be kind of hostility, animosity in various kind of areas in our lives. In some ways, we can find trivial examples when it comes to sports teams, for example. Supporters of one team might be kind of quite adversarial towards another. Things become, of course, more serious when we talk about political polarization or division. As we're all too well aware, there is a lot of hostility oftentimes within politics, something we can't ignore with the recent assassination attempt of the former President Donald Trump. There's a lot of hostility, a lot of polarization in politics, not just in the United States, but also in Canada at times. This polarization or this building of bridges between people tends to get pushed or multiplied through social media, as many people have recognized. Social media with its algorithms kind of puts us very quickly into categories, and we want to identify with people who are in our team or in our group and view other people who are outside our group with hostility and even animosity. Our role then as building bridges is so important in a world where oftentimes walls are being constructed to divide, separate, and polarize people. In the second reading from the letter to the Ephesians, we hear that Christ has come to remove walls that separate people. Christ has come to bring unity among people. The letter to the Ephesians was written towards a Christian community in which there was quite a bit of division or polarization. At this time specifically, there was division between followers of Jesus who were from a Jewish background and followers of Jesus who were from a Gentile background. And Paul is specifically addressing those followers of Christ from a Gentile background. It seems that they were viewing with hostility followers of Christ from a Jewish background, and oftentimes Jews in general. Walls were being constructed. And the letter to the Ephesians tells such people that they must work towards unity, that Christ has come to create unity among individuals. And in one very poignant expression from which we heard in the second reading today, it says that Jesus has come to tear down the wall of hostility, this wall that separates people. Throughout history, people have tried to understand better what Ephesians is getting at by this wall of hostility. One theory that seems quite convincing to me is that this wall that the author of Ephesians, that Paul is talking about, is a wall that was found in the temple compound in Jerusalem. So as you might be aware, in Jerusalem, there's kind of different spaces in the original temple that was destroyed in the year 70 AD. There were kind of different zones where different people could be. So there was one area where anybody could be. It was called the Court of the Gentiles. But in order to move closer into kind of increasing layers of holiness, you first had to be a Jew, and then as you got in quicker or sooner to the temple, you had to be a Jewish male, and then finally a particular kind of priests. But in the Jewish temple, there was a firm separation between areas Gentiles could be in and areas Jews could be in. And archaeologists have even found remains of an inscription that was put upon this wall that separated Gentiles from Jews. And the inscription reads as follows: "No one of another race," and this would mean someone who isn't Jewish, "is to enter within the fence and enclosure around the temple. Whoever is caught will only have himself to thank for the death that follows." So this obviously is quite a threatening sign or inscription that was there. There's no evidence that anybody was actually ever put to death, but you can see the sort of hostility that existed that separated Jews from Gentiles. And this was being reflected then in the community in Ephesus that the letter to the Ephesians is written towards. And the author is saying that Christ has torn down not just literally this wall separating people, but all walls that divide individuals. Christ has come to bring unity, to tear down the walls that people put or impose to separate themselves from others. One very practical way in which we build bridges rather than walls is by imitating Jesus, who is the Good Shepherd. The shepherd imagery runs throughout the readings today. We hear the shepherd imagery already in the book of Jeremiah, in the psalm that we have heard, and of course then in the gospel, Jesus identifies himself as the Good Shepherd. The image of a shepherd caring for sheep is very poignant. Some time ago I was watching a video, it was taken by a drone, that was showing a shepherd caring for a flock. And this flock was really running in all different directions. The sheep were fearful, they didn't know where to go, and they were being divided very, very quickly. There was even an image of a wolf at one point in time coming to threaten the flock. But with just some words and some signals, and also the assistance of his sheepdog, the shepherd very quickly was able to control the sheep, to unite them together, to keep them safe, and to lead them to safety. This, in the Hebrew Scriptures in the Old Testament, was an image for what God does for us. God is a shepherd who cares for us, who unites all people. And Jesus identifies himself as this shepherd in the gospel. Christ is the good shepherd who brings unity to people by laying down his life, by serving, by overcoming divisions, by seeking out people who were excluded from the community. By imitating Christ, the good shepherd, we too can make sure that we help to overcome walls and divisions among people. Images then are very poignant, they're important, just like the titles that we give to the Pope. The readings today remind us of a fundamental image that we have as followers of Christ. We are called to bring about unity. We're not called to build walls between people, but rather to build bridges that overcome division.